everybody. Today on The Coach and the Casual, we got a very special guest that I'm excited to interview, where I got my black belt from, the one and only Jake Shields. This guy was a Rumble on the Rocks champion, the last one ever, right?
Yep.
Basically meaning he had to fight, who'd you fight that same night?
Carlos Condit and Yushin Kami in the same night.
In the same night?
That sucks. I don't recommend it.
Yeah, don't do that. This guy was a Strike Force champion, Pan Am Jiu-Jitsu world champion, challenged George St. Pierre for the still to this day, the biggest live event ever in the history of combat sports in Canada, in his hometown, and lost a close 5-round decision. Jake Shields, not only has he changed the game in jiu-jitsu, he's changed the game in MMA with his style of pressure, takedown, get on top, completely changed the whole game. Everyone that was a jiu-jitsu based guy had to start learning how to wrestle to fight Jake, how to not get taken down. So I'm excited. He gave me my black belt. He's beat my ass many times, and now I'm excited to get interviewing him.
You know, that I want to jump straight into that is it used to be like in the early days of UFC. UFC 1 was a tournament where they had to fight like 17 times.
Three times.
Yeah, I mean, it's just for me when I'm rolling with you guys. You like Ramsey will tap me and I'll be like, okay, cool, I get to get out. But no, then he'll tap me again and again. It's light work. I mean, he's just taking it easy on me. What's it like doing multiple fights a night? Because you don't even have. It's not like you can make a big game plan because then things get shuffled.
You don't know who you're going to fight.
Who you're fighting. Yeah. I mean, that's got to be psychologically and physically just the worst.
Yeah, it's really tiring, especially because my first fight, I had Yushin Okami, who's savage. I don't know, everybody knows him.
Yeah,
badass Japanese fighter. So we had a
Sexy
war.
Ama?
Yeah.
So I fought him too.
That's different. Yeah, Yushin's different. Yeah.
He's not a sexy.
He's not a sexy Ama.
That's a sexy Asian.
Yeah, he's a sexy.
I'm straight, but I go, that guy is sexy.
Yeah, I've heard girls are like, I'm not into Asian dudes, but sexy Ama, and him.
But not soccer.
But back to the topic, Yushin Okami, he was an 85-pounder, and he cut down. We fought at 175. He was this huge. I underestimated him. He wasn't a huge name at the time. We had a war. I won the fight, but like he got me some good rib shots. Just a 15-minute war going at it. And then Carlos Condit went in his next fight and tapped out, I think it was Frank Trigg in like 30 seconds. Yeah. So I had to fight him like fresh.
And he was fresh.
Yeah. The worst part, I go in the back room just exhausted, like an hour and a rest or something. And I'm sitting there chilling. Gil Melendez, one of my best friends, the time he's single, goes like, "Hey, bro, I met this hot girl outside. I'm going to talk to her for a couple minutes." I go, yeah, be quick. Dude's gone the whole time. He's just gone. I'm laying there myself. They literally call me out. I'm walking in, about to walk out. Gil comes up. "What up, buddy? Let's do this." I can't get mad, though, because I can't blame Gil. The girl was hot. I saw her afterwards. So I can't really blame him. But
what's he going to do? Like massage you?
I was pretty mad that hour that I was laying there by myself. Could you imagine? You just got left. I keep thinking, he's here a couple minutes. He's here a couple seconds. They call me, and I'm still like, is Gil going to come? Yeah, buddy, let's do this.
It's like running out on the football field looking for your dad in the crowd. Like, where are you?
Yeah, where are you at?
But you know Gil too. He's always optimistic, happy. Comes in all like, you can't. I'm just looking at him like,
he's a happy-go-lucky dude.
Yeah. I'm gonna fuck you up on Monday.
Bros before hoes.
Not with Gil.
Not with that.
So they don't do that anywhere anymore? Multiple fights in a night, right?
I think they've all been banned.
PFL was doing it, and I was on that tournament.
PFL was doing 2 tonight.
I ended up losing my first one, but it was a mind fuck because I remember going into the fight like I have to get a finish right away because you don't want to.
And it's a big difference between now. They used to do 3 in a night, but people were way less skilled. Now everyone's so skilled, and it's like
you can't prepare for a jiu-jitsu guy and then a striker and then a wrestling guy.
Well, and there's the big issue. Like my fight, I said I had a 15-minute war. The guy I fought had a 15-second win. I still dominated Carlos Condit, but I was like tired afterwards. He cut my. He's the only guy I went on top, but he split my head open with elbows, those down elbows. The most effective that I use those. He's wiry. He's attacking. Carlos Condit was a UFC champ, so it's not like he's a scrub.
Yeah.
So then I had a war with him. I won that. So 30 minutes fighting. And then afterwards, my friends like dragged me out. Yeah, let's celebrate. And I'm just sitting there going like, I just want to go home.
Yeah.
My legs were swollen out from kick and I had cuts over my head.
But hey, did you go out?
Yes.
Of course. Did you party all night?
Yes.
Of course. That's it. Dude.
It's Hawaii. I'm not going to say what I did or didn't do. There's some beautiful girls in Hawaii.
Yeah. The Hawaiian women are beautiful.
And as much as I was mad at Gil, he did find some interesting friends to come hang out with us.
And you did
I stopped being mad at Gil.
Yeah.
I wanted to kill him for after the fight. But then after I seen who he brought out, I'm like, okay, you're my friend, Gil.
Shout out to Gil being one of the greatest coaches of all time, knowing that if he pissed you off, you're gonna win your next fight. So he's like,
that's what I
I'm
did.
gonna leave, make you
Maybe the coach
I'm
angry.
gonna go bang this chick.
Yeah.
I want Jake.
He literally came. I was by myself. I was literally walking out, and he runs up. What's up? Like nothing happened. All like
As he's
happy.
finished, he's like, oh,
Yeah,
Jake, yeah.
Gil's just always happy. We're gonna do this, huh, bro? I'm like, I hate you, Gil.
My favorite Gil story with you is when you were walking out with GSP and you guys had an extra coat.
There was someone that my other guy didn't want in the corner because he wasn't really coaching me.
Yeah.
And Tarek, but and Gil's super. He likes
Hey.
to avoid conflicts. He's so nice.
And
Tarek goes,
I was there for that camp, most of it, and
Yeah.
there is all of a sudden fight night, all these new coaches
Yeah,
that Jake's
those new
never seen
coaches.
before. Like, oh yeah, I'm Jake's coach.
They shouldn't have been in my corner, and I just told Tarek, I'm like, hey, I don't want some people in my corner because they didn't coach me. It doesn't really make sense. Guys just trying to get on TV.
Yeah.
And then so Tarek passed it on to Gil. Gil hates conflict.
Yeah.
He would always try to get me to be the bad guy at the gym. Like he'll try to get me to kick guys out of his gym. Like to swear to God, I'll visit. I'm like, hey, can you kick this guy out of my gym? I'm like, Gil, I don't even hear anymore.
You're like, I don't even live here, man.
So instead of Gil telling the guy right away, hey, you're not in the corner, he waits till we're getting walked out. He grabs the guy, pushed him behind security, and goes, this guy can't come with us.
Oh,
And he's like, the dude's like,
we look
this
back.
is his fucking moment, dude.
Literally
I'm walking
shoved him-
out.
He
with
literally,
Jake.
because he panicked and he's pushed behind security. He goes, he can't come. The guy's all,
Yeah, the security's
we
like, all
didn't
right.
hate the guy. I just didn't feel like he belonged in my corner.
he
Yeah.
probably thought the whole time he's gonna get stopped. Like they're not gonna let me through. He's on the walker. Like, oh, I made it.
Oh no, he thought for sure he was there. He was all pumped.
Yeah, he's like, dude, I got through the
But
security.
like somehow he wheezed himself. I never put him on his corner. He talked himself on. And it's just people do this in this game.
Yeah.
It's like that's what Tarek. Tarek's usually the confrontational one, so I thought he'd get him out, but he passed it on to Gil.
Yeah.
And Gil literally, he's sitting there all nervous and shoved the guy behind the security, and the guy's just like, "Hey!" Well, we're like laughing as we're like laughing as we're walking out. And then I look up and see 65,000 people, and I go, "Oh shit! I better get my mind together."
That was the night of the GSP fight.
Yeah, the GSP fight.
But there's more people there because that arena, you have the apartments that are all around it. So people that own those apartments, right? They would rent it out. And so like you have this arena, then apartment complex around
Yeah,
it.
well, there was like, it was a lot of people.
Well, I mean, for both of you, but I mean, Ramsey, you never had a fight of that size on GSP. It's huge.
Yeah.
What I mean, it's got to be so surreal. I mean, when you're walking around the cage, you feel the cage shut. How much does the crowd play into being in the cage?
It definitely affects you, but when it's going through my head, it's what I go. I'm like, you know what? GSP's going through exactly what I'm going through. We're both freaking out, trying to pull our heads together. So don't let this get me. Pull it back together. And the hype for that fight was like nothing I've ever seen. I've been involved in a lot of fights, and even fights I've seen. Maybe the only other fight to match that hype was Nate Diaz versus Connor.
Yeah.
Because it was just, I don't know how the whole town of Toronto, it was completely sold out. Every single bar was showing it.
Yeah.
Like I couldn't walk around Toronto without getting mobbed. I had to have like a security detail. It was like crazy. Like I'm like a small celebrity, but there I couldn't move around.
I mean, that was the height of GSP, height of the UFC. They just bought Strikeforce. You were the Strikeforce champ on a 16 fight, right? 16 fight win streak, which is crazy.
Versus good people.
Yeah, against a lot of good fucking people. How many years was it? Like
I think 7 years.
7 years undefeated. So I mean, it was a
hype fight.
Yeah, and GSP was one of the greatest of all times. Jake's one of the greatest of all.
It was a good card too, which
Yeah.
obviously helped. They had Randy Couture on the card,
Yeah.
Nate Diaz. Nate wasn't a superstar
Jose
at the time,
Aldo,
but
right?
Jose Aldo, yeah.
But I mean, when I'm going and doing rolling, just with Ramsey over at the pit, like it'll be a 5-minute round, and I'll be like a minute and a half, and I'm like, dude, I just want them to, I just go limp, so that they'll just like their human kindness is my only defense.
Yeah,
is
the
them
bear.
not wanting to beat a defenseless child at this point.
And then you learned yesterday that some people don't mind.
Yeah,
He
they
just-
those
you
keep
went
beating
limp.
him.
He popped your ankle,
Popped
dude.
my ankle, he did.
Yeah.
And so it's just, I mean, how much? I mean, these training camps, it's like
It's so hard,
I heard once that the worst thing, the scariest thing to a fighter is to run out of gas. Do you feel like that's?
Probably so. I mean, the scariest thing is to get knocked out, embarrassed on TV, but running out of gas will lead to that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're always embarrassed. You're always scared to get knocked out. You don't want to get humiliated.
But you
So
don't
it's-
feel like getting knocked out. You know what I mean? It
doesn't
just kind of
hurt, yeah,
happens.
but it's just like so.
But running out of
humiliating,
gas in there is kind of
Yeah,
like,
no,
oh.
it sucks when you're running out of gas.
Yeah.
It's
Watch
not a
that.
good.
I mean, the
feeling.
thing is, I've never been knocked out, never could be, just because of who I am as a person. I see ahead, but
Wait till later today.
Yeah.
but
Shoot him in the back
it's
of
just,
the
I
leg.
mean, that's got to be the most surreal thing is coming to, huh? Like,
yeah.
Do you
Did I
feel like
win?
you're still? I mean, like look, like
I only got
Brendan-
knocked out once in a fight, and it was kind of a flash knocked out. So it was, but no, it's not a good feeling. You're just kind of like. But I've had guys I've cornered get knocked out cold, and they like ask several times, "Did I win?" It's just like, oh, so you gotta keep
Dude,
telling them.
the
no,
the,
you didn't
the
win."
fencing response is so gross too, right? Where they
Oh yeah, when they fence and they're like out far.
Yeah,
or
it's,
like Brendan Schaub, where he was still trying to. You remember that where he got knocked out by Rousey's husband?
No,
Oh,
it's,
yeah.
I've never been knocked out cold, just like flash. But it's something. There's a lot of pressure going in there because it's like you're fighting. There's money on the line. You might get hurt. You might one a lot of people don't think about. I'm sure the fighters do. You might get embarrassed in front of millions of people
Yeah.
watching. That's something you're always worried
Yeah.
about too. There's just so much pressure.
And you might get sincerely hurt, man.
Yeah,
There's like
yeah.
that one boxer that got hit.
Yeah.
Remember that fight in the back of the
get
head?
hurt
And-
bad. You could get your you lose. I don't like this about the UFC contracts. There's usually half your money you don't get. So if you lose, let's say you're getting,
Are they still doing
let's
show
say
and
you're getting
win?
like 250 and 250 for a fight.
That's
You get
$250,000
instead of $500,000. That's a lot
you're
of fucking
losing.
money. So you're like a double loser. So it's like,
Well, I
you
mean,
don't wanna
most
lose these
people
fights.
are at 15.
A lot of these guys
15,
making like 15,
you know,
20,
20,
20. A lot of these guys are barely paying their bills.
So you get
the
3
entry-level
fights
guys, yeah.
in a year, you're making 60 grand, 80 grand, and that's if you're healthy, bro.
That's a
It's
very
hard.
unfortunate part about the UFC. It's only the guys at the top making good money, and they're even underpaid. But it's a lot of these lower level guys are making like 20 and 20, 30 and 30, and that's like, you have to fight a couple times to be able to live. And this is not including paying your manager, your taxes, your coaches.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ramsey, you were on Ultimate Fighter. Were you ever on Ultimate Fighter?
I know I helped coach it twice.
Yeah. Okay.
With,
So you, were on there. You guys ever feel like, because I watched,
Jake was a legend before it came out.
and Ultimate Fighter was what
I almost
really
did the
put
first
UFC
season,
up,
actually.
man.
Oh, you did? Oh, that would have been dope, right?
I applied. For some reason, they didn't accept me. Diego
Really?
won. I would have dominated that shit.
Oh, yeah, dude. And then
I thought I was going to get it. It sounded like it was. And for some reason, last minute, they didn't put me in.
How do you guys feel about the narrative of like fighters that's put out? Because sometimes it's so obvious that the UFC doesn't like with Ngannou.
Oh, yeah, they push
didn't
people.
want Ngannou to beat Cyril.
yeah.
Yeah, though they 100% push people more than others. It's just, it is what it is. It's you can't get bitter about it.
business, man,
You
yeah.
just gotta roll with it. Dana's got his good, his bad.
I don't know, dude. I'd be so pissed off if later, like halfway through, I realize, oh, they're actually trying to stack it against me. You know what I mean?
No, it sucks. Certain guys, like I have 2 savage 35-pounders I'm training. They're not against them, but they're giving them zero market so far. One's 4-0 in the UFC, the other's 2-0 or 3-0. I think 2-0.
They're both
35,
undefeated.
both undefeated. I think one's 14-0, one's like 15 or 16-0. The UFC's giving them no push. They haven't gonna get, so they might give them the push after the next win or something because these guys are. I think they both have a good shot of winning the title. So you see this, and it's like, damn, would you give these guys a push? And I think they're extremely marketable. They're like polite kids from England, live in the U.S. now, but they're from Afghanistan. You have a good story to tell, but gotten zero push from them.
So you came up under him, Ramsey. What were some of the things that you understand better now about what he was teaching, what he was doing, and what would you have asked him then?
With Jake?
Yeah.
I think like one of the biggest things I learned from Jake was just like persistence, man. Like, he just keeps on driving. You keep on taking someone down. You keep on passing, and there is no stop, And like, you always know this, but it's like in wrestling growing up.
A guy that does that.
Yeah. And there is no quit. And like, I would say like, I feel like a little bit more like athletic, I would almost say, like we could play other sports, but then you get me on the mat and you can ragdoll me and I'm just like, damn. So none of my like strength really does much. And it's just straight who's got more will. Like even when we're rolling, it's just like literally you keep passing and I keep regarding. And then before it stopped, I was about to be like, all right, I don't fucking care anymore. Let him pass. I was about to be a Kyle and be like, quit and say, oh, coach, I'm hurt. Ow, ow. Like he was telling us a story about he did it in football one time just because he's such a pussy. Like he got hit and then he was like,
faked it.
Yeah, he faked an injury. So then every time he's hurt, I'm always like,
I got like laid out on a kickoff. I was on kickoff team, and so I was like, well, I don't want to keep being in this game, so I just I laid down on the ground. They're like, Deaver, get up, and we went. I was like, oh. And then we get to the sideline, and they're like, sit down. So they're like, do you know what the score is? And I was like, 4-12. I just wanted to go home, and then they're like, you're out of this. So they sent me home, and then my dad was taking me to the hospital. Like, hey, no, I'm good. I just didn't want to be there anymore. He's like, you pussy. Dude, it's just.
Yeah,
I mean,
see, if that was, I would beat your ass up.
yeah, if you were my son,
I think I was kind
of.
I was kind of mean in the gym. I'm a nice guy, but I'm kind of mean in the gym too because I was very serious in the gym. I think I I was kind of like unofficially became like the team leader, me and
Yeah.
Nick Diaz. And I always kept like kind of a hard score. Like, you're going to come, you're going to do everything we're going to do. I wouldn't let guys sit out during half the practice. You had to do all the sparring, all the rounds. So I think I was very strict about that, because I think if you let someone get off, it sets a bad example. It'll throw the whole room off. There's a few guys.
And when someone gets hurt and like, oh, I want to sit
Because
out.
Gil don't like being the bad guy.
Yeah.
But he would agree with everything I do. So he'd be like, hey, this guy's doing this, Jake. Like,
Yeah,
go
kick
handle
him
it.
around.
And then back to the passing, I think, hands down, I have the best passing, like probably MMA history, and some of the best in jiu-jitsu. And obviously I have a very technical thing to it, I do it, but a lot of it is relentlessness. People are like, how do you do it? I'll try one pass that fails. Like, I instantly go into another pass. Instantly. Guys can't keep up with it because they're riding my weight. And I think that's I have a very systematic, great pass I'm doing too, but a big part of it is just chaining these 1, 2, 3, 4, because he's riding my weight, and it's just keep putting them together.
Well, I mean, you're not doing anything special. Like, you know what I mean? You've taught me some great passes.
That's a great technique, but a lot of it I just chain,
and the
chain
technique is
because a lot of times
like
a good guy will stop my first one, but I'm
Yeah.
instantly going right into another one. They can't keep up that like pace, and a lot of it I just try to go out there and break guys.
Yeah. I mean, one of the greatest fights is you and Damian Maya. It's like his classic jiu-jitsu versus American jiu-jitsu
Damian,
style.
like a 7-time world champion Brazilian jiu-jitsu guy. I'm a huge fan of his phenom, but they were saying he's the best MMA fighter to ever do jiu-jitsu, best jiu-jitsu fighter to ever do MMA, and I went and beat him.
In Brazil.
Yeah, in Brazil, in his hometown.
Yeah.
So, we were talking earlier, I was making a joke. You were saying how when you guys go to these trainings, you're like, hey, do you remember when you fought this guy? I was like, yeah, I remember when I fought that guy. Hey, you remember? But I've noticed you do this a couple times, Ramsey. It's just you guys have been in so many fights. Do you ever be like, oh, shit, I think I fought that guy?
When someone mentions it, I always remember, but I totally forget. Sometimes someone will mention a fight, and I'm like, oh, yeah, I fought that guy.
Yeah.
If someone mentions a name, I'll remember, but sometimes we'll do like questions and answers.
Because you don't, you don't remember specifics about it. You don't remember specifics about it. Just like, oh, I was in there.
I feel like it's imprinted. I remember all my fights, though. They're like imprint for the most part.
I definitely remember someone mentioning them, but I couldn't go through and like name all my fights.
Yeah.
I've been like in a shitload of fights.
I think I could go through. I mean,
I was going through it.
But I mean, Jake, could you go through and name all the women you've slept with?
Yeah.
Definitely not.
Yeah, all right.
I mean, I'm a virgin.
Yeah, me too. We all are.
You guys name
We're
all the
Mormon
men that
country.
you
Yeah,
slept
we're
with.
Mormon. Yeah.
So, like, you guys have both fought Mayhem, haven't you?
No.
I don't think you do.
You
No, I
fought
never
Mayhem,
fought
right?
Mayhem, yeah.
No, he's bigger.
I'm smaller, dude.
He's an 85 pounder. I
Yeah.
moved up weight to fight Mayhem.
What were you doing, 205?
I fought him at 185.
Okay.
Yeah.
What were you saying you fought at?
155.
55. Okay. So,
The casual over here, Jake.
Yeah,
I'm
you
sorry.
gotta-
I know.
you gotta
We gotta
casual
get.
hosting
Yeah,
with
I got
us.
a real casual.
We're gonna have to catch
He's
up on
like,
some fights.
so 150. That's a weight class, or
when you fought-
Who's Kasushi Sakuraba?
yeah. Who's?
You have to go watch all the Pride fights and.
the question is, when you're fighting at 185, how do you look at Ramsey and think that's a man? But
I mean, I wanted the same thing. Like when you look at Kyle, who's never
I saw
fought.
what he did to you yesterday. So
How do you look
real
at someone who's
talk,
never been in a
yeah.
fight and think he's a man?
This is what I've always done. So you guys can tell me if it's different for you guys, but I was always like, damn, like, oh, that guy's a killer. You watch him on the in pay-per-views and all that. Then you go find out that he's 125 pounds. Like, dude, how can I respect that guy?
obviously weight makes a difference, but these 25 pounders honestly will beat the fuck out of you.
I know. That's why I'm excited.
I think I could rag
No
though.
way. Maybe
He's so little.
Maybe if you train for like 4 or 5 years, but now, bro, there's no way. The guy's like, no way, no chance.
You really? I mean,
Honestly,
he's
I'm not.
5'5".
I'm not just saying it, bro. Mighty Mouse would wreck you. Bro.
Henry Cejudo's like 5'3".
Bro, he would wreck you,
I'm gonna bring Cejudo.
I'm
Cejudo
so
out, he's gonna
grateful
wreck
that
you.
you're like here because I've been telling this shit for like months.
No,
dude.
these guys are. You're naming elite guys. Like maybe like a 25 pounder who's not that good.
No, bro,
Yeah.
my 135 local AMI champ
yeah,
He was up at
fucked him up.
160. That was my second day ever.
But you know what Cejudo would do to that guy? He would do to that guy. what he
Yeah,
did
well,
to you.
yeah,
yeah,
exactly.
So I think I'd have
Like
a
these
better
guys like
chance against
Cejudo and Mighty Mouse, bro. They're so good.
Okay, what about the females on the roster?
None.
Who could I beat?
You might be able to be a small female.
Like a really small,
Like
a
Holly
150
Holm
pounder.
or an Amanda
No,
Nunes?
not a Holly Holm would knock you
no,
out.
Holly Holm's she's too big. She's
Yeah, she's
35,
like
muscle.
170.
There's no chance.
Ronda Rousey would fuck you
I
up.
think with a couple of years training, you can beat most of the females.
What about
Misha
Fallon
Tate.
Fox? Just
Fallon
kidding.
Fox would fuck you up. That's what we need to get Jake is a
Honestly,
Fallon
the
Fox.
difference between a man is so big with a couple years training, then yes, you'd beat the girl.
Yeah.
But like now, like Amanda Nunes, she would
Okay, but here's
Fuck out of you.
this is a legitimate question. You guys are just saying that because you're homers for the sport?
No.
No, we're
Or
being
have you
serious.
seen it happen?
No, I've seen it happen.
No,
many
I
times,
watch
no.
these girls in the gym beat the shit out of dudes.
all the time. And-
They're not going to be good dudes, but you get these amateur guys. It's funny, extreme sport. I don't know why they do it. I would just quit. But
Yeah.
there's a lot of these amateur guys that spar the girls all the time. I think it's embarrassing. You're a girl sparring partner.
Yeah.
There's some of these guys that come in, and sometimes they get like knocked out and stuff by the girls.
No way.
I don't know if they're like-
Swear,
There's nothing
I don't know if they're
dramatic.
trying to like sleep with these girls or
Yeah,
what.
yeah,
but
yeah,
I can't
for
respect
sure.
the dude that never spars the men. They spend
Hey,
all their
anyone
time.
that's trying to sleep with your training partners, brother, get back to work.
It's a,
Yeah,
Don't
right.
let the women
It's haram.
distract you.
Don't mix
It's
girls and
haram,
fighting.
dude.
Listen,
Yeah.
Habibi, it's haram.
Habibi, it's haram. Yeah. You don't shit
I
where you
agree.
eat,
Don't,
brother.
don't mix.
You must.
Dude, every guy regrets it because he'll date a
Oh,
chick,
yeah.
and as soon as they break up, you know what she does? She sleeps with someone else. in the
Everyone
gym.
at the gym,
Someone,
yeah.
or someone,
Everybody.
or everyone.
Yeah,
or
yeah.
everyone.
We all have a, yeah,
You imagine your
everyone.
girlfriend, and then
Well,
she just slept with 6 of my friends.
Yeah,
It's better-
fun.
it's
That I
better-
got to see every fucking day at training.
It's better to be first than last on that one, though.
Depends, Kyle. I bet you'd want to be last.
Either way is not good. That's why you just don't sleep with gym girls.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the best advice I can give.
Yeah.
People don't listen to me, but I tell everyone, don't sleep with the gym girls.
You know, the gym girls that are the happiest are ones that get themselves like some little beta dude out of the gym and they boss him around and
they
then they
and
sleep
they still
around.
sleep with, like, the black
all
belt.
the dudes, and then they're like their dude doesn't really mind, you know. Like I think those are the healthiest
Yeah.
relationships I've seen.
Ramsey's going to open a marriage clinic.
yeah.
listen,
Who's
let
up?
her do it.
Also, a piece of advice, this might be good advice for jiu-jitsu gyms, but if you're brand new, don't bring your girl to jiu-jitsu gym with you. Learn a little jiu-jitsu first.
Well, that's a problem. Okay.
Otherwise, everybody's gonna bang
She's
your
gonna,
chick.
she's gonna
yeah.
be see you getting just smashed by everyone. She's like, huh? maybe
That
I'll see
guy's,
one
my
of these
guy's not so tough.
I'm just trying to help
That's
people
what
out here.
I told my wife going to introduce her. I'm like, dude, I'm bad.
Don't
I'll
let
beat
your
the
wife
fuck out
come.
of
Don't
these
let
guys.
your wife come watch you get beat up.
And
Another
then,
piece of
and then I
advice.
just
He
get
did.
ragged on by
Oh, dude,
everybody.
oh, you fucked
What
up.
happened when you brought your
my
wife
wife was
up?
like-
But now she thinks
My wife
Ramsey's
was like, wow,
hot.
Ramsey's so handsome.
Yes, because
he shut the hell
because
up.
he
Before
beat-
she was
she thought
dropping-
she thought he was ugly until he beat you up.
Yeah,
She's like,
yeah,
oh my God,
she
he's
did.
so
Yeah,
hot.
like
she
she
was
literally was
like, he kind of looks like a lad now.
Yeah, yeah.
Shut the hell up.
Over
Like
20 years of
before, she
fight.
was like, "Are you sure you should do a
That guy's
podcast with
ugly.
him?" Like,
Yeah.
I don't think the cameras work with him. Then after, you know, he's really good looking.
handsome.
Have you ever
He
seen
looks kind
Aladdin?
of like Osama bin Laden.
Yeah. Oh, can you just pretend to be Ramsey
Yeah.
today?
Can I call you Ramsey?
yeah.
Yeah, you already fucked up then.
Yeah.
Yeah, you already fucked up.
Next time, like, pay him to let you like beat him.
Well, Ramsey.
Well,
like,
that's
Fox
actually, I keep
catcher.
telling him, I'm like, the only fight he's going to win, we're going to have to give him a Foxcatcher setup, pay some dude to take a dive and let him win.
I think you're just so new. I think in like a year.
Don't give him confidence, Jake.
takes
Don't give it to him,
People don't
please.
realize it takes a while. It takes like a
that's-
year.
Look at his
It
head.
takes
It's
like a year.
fucking growing right
You know,
now.
that's
But no,
really.
the only reason of potential, he kind of looks like if Paulo Costa had an uglier little brother.
Yeah, a fucking handicapped little brother.
Like
Well,
it's,
that's the
you,
thing,
didn't
though,
get, you didn't get the good genetics of Paulo, but you look a lot like him.
Yeah. I mean, at least you got
You're still
some
pretty big, at
genetics.
least. You're still
Yeah.
pretty
Plus,
big. You got
I
some
was
strength
born in
still.
the U.S. of A, baby.
Yeah, that's what I was right there.
But you know, it's interesting you say it takes time is because I'll be rolling with a guy and he won't be even close to Ramsey or anything, but he'll be a little bit better than me, and I'll be like, oh, maybe he's been doing it for another 2-3 months, and he'll say, oh, I've been doing it for a year.
Yeah.
It takes so much time to even. I mean,
Yeah.
to even.
It really takes like a year to start being decent. I hate saying that, but that's
Yeah.
the truth. 6 months, you start having a map in your head.
Yeah.
Jiu-Jitsu is such a complex sport. The first 6 months suck.
where do you lose new guys a lot?
First 6 months,
6
probably,
months,
right?
yeah. I mean, I
Because
would
they're just
say like
getting
the first
first
6
year,
months.
yeah.
And then after that, once they get their blue belt, that's like a real thing. Like when someone
what
gets
is
their
up
blue
with
belt,
that?
I don't know, man. Like I
Like an
lose a lot of,
accomplishment?
and that's why I like hold it out sometimes for them. Like you ain't getting your blue belt.
So I
I'm like,
should have my blue belt by now.
no,
but you're
because
holding
you
out on
would
me.
be the kind of bitch that quits. So that's why you're never gonna get
I
one,
just
dude.
wear it during
Yeah.
while I'm banging my wife.
Yeah.
I do have my black belt.
Yeah, I do it too. I'm not gonna lie. We all.
No, jiu-jitsu, and like I said, you already seem like you're enjoying it, which is good because it's way more fun once you start getting the map, tapping people. But it really takes 6 months to start even getting a map and about a year to start being like competent.
What would you say to someone that like chases belts though? You know what I mean?
I think I've said this before, I almost think belts are kind of a disservice to the sport because like in wrestling and Muay Thai, we don't have them and people are worrying about mastering your art and getting better. In Jiu-Jitsu, people spend so much time worrying about getting their next belt.
Yeah.
And I mean, belts have their positives too. It's like a ranking. It's nice to be like, I'm a black belt. I'm a 4th degree black belt.
Yeah. Oh, there we go.
I might have to
baby.
give you a degree pretty soon. When I give you a
I'm-
black belt, you might have a degree coming up soon. I'm we're very informal with the degrees. So I didn't even get my first 3, and then I realized, talked to Caesar, and like he's like, I owe you 4 degrees.
Yeah.
Oh,
I'm like,
really?
oh shit, I was
Bro,
so far
you
behind.
should be a coral belt. I mean, like you haven't been
those are a while off.
Yeah, you're supposed to be a while
based
off,
off time.
but I
Purple belts are
feel
based
like
off
it
time.
should be based off of
It's
changing
not
the
based off
sport,
how good you are necessarily,
or like it should be
more about
based
time,
off of
yeah.
changing the sport as a whole.
Well, that's the reason I don't put too much into like black belts and stripes and stuff is because you can be a black belt, it's not that good, and there's some purple belts that are savages. There's some purple belts that'll beat them, like good competition purple belt will beat like 80% of black belts.
Yeah,
Dom, right? Dom's purple, right?
Yeah. Argue
but
Dom.
these competition purple belts are solid.
And he's an MMA fighting purple belt, so you're not going to really tap him out because they learn enough to like not get tapped out.
Yeah,
and
when I was
stuff
a
like
purple belt, I went into ADCC, which is like the Olympics of grappling. They do it every 2 years, like a huge ordeal. And I went and took third at that, and I was a purple belt, and it was all black belts. It's only competing against black belts.
Yeah.
In the gi, right?
That was no gi.
Oh, no gi.
I won Pan Ams in the gi.
In the gi, yeah. And they made you put it on, right? And you're like,
I decided to do it because that time because now a lot of schools give no gi belts, but at the time there wasn't, and I had a lot of Brazilians were giving me shit, being like, "You're a fake belt."
Yeah.
So I put a gi on for 1 week, went to Pan Ams, and tapped everyone out, mauled them. They were not happy, but no one called me a fake belt after that.
that was the most gangster move you could. Okay, you want
I
fake belt?
think I tapped like the first 6, and then the Brazilian national champ went in the finals, and I beat him like 20-0.
Oh shit!
You know,
that guy was like supposed to be like the phenom. He was just like, "What the fuck?"
in South
never
Africa,
felt
it's funny.
that.
Everybody, it's like every trade will insult another trade. Like, oh, you're not a man. In South Africa, I lived there for 2 years, and I had this guy I was with all the time. He was a South African, and he'd always tell me I'm not a real man because I got circumcised at the hospital, right? Because in South Africa, what they'll do is certain tribes, like the Xhosas, they'll go to the mountain when they're 12. They learn to fight and get circumcised with a rock.
Jesus Christ.
Whoa, what the hell?
Sounds both painful and a little bit gay.
Yeah, a little bit.
I want to play with your cock at 12.
A little too old at that point, you know.
Like, you can feel it with a rock.
Hey, we gotta get you hard to cut off the skin, you know.
You know what I mean? I'm like, bro, I'm cool with that.
Yeah, what the hell, dude?
Yeah, I'll pass on that.
Yeah, bro.
So what I mean, both of you can kind of explain. To me, it's like I grew up, I wouldn't say mega rich, but I grew up in an affluent neighborhood, grew up not really having to worry about things if I wanted to go out. What do you think what's your opinion on somebody like that could never really be, because Mike Tyson, right, his son one time was like, I want to go be a boxer. And he's like, hell no.
Yeah.
Because you're going to get into the ring with somebody who grew up like me and you grew up like you did.
Okay, I would say that's usually true, but not always. BJ Penn grew up rich, phenomenal fighter. The vast majority of fighters are going to have grown up a little poor or rough or something that fucked us up a little bit. You know, generally poorer, rougher areas. But there's some exceptions, so it's not like 100% rule. Like everything's exceptions. I can think of BJ. Is there any other rich fighters you can think of?
I mean, he's the only exception I know.
But definitely most of them come from.
I mean,
poor
everyone always
background
says
or
BJ
some kind of
because
rough.
he's like the GOAT, and I'm sure there's other ones. I mean,
there's probably a
it's like-
few, but BJ comes to mind because I know for sure he grew up wealthy.
yeah, but I think the most of the ones I grew up wealthy, they don't really make it very far. It's just too hard of
Why
a
would
sport.
you do it?
Yeah, why would you?
Adesanya's
That's why I
dad
tell
made
guys
money,
that are
I
rich
think.
and want to train like
Adesanya's dad made money, right, in New Zealand? That's why he went down there?
Oh, is it? I don't
I think so.
Who's that?
But
Maybe.
Adesanya, Israel
Israel.
Adesanya.
Yeah,
But,
no idea.
and maybe I'm wrong
But
on
I
that,
think it
but-
takes like, so you're,
There's exceptions.
yeah,
but-
you got to
but-
be so comfortable being in a situation that's so traumatic. Into like any sport, like anyone that's great at sports, you're going against your own like self and your own like life to become so great at something, because you have to have that trauma to be like, oh, I want to be the #1 soccer player, #1, you know what I mean? And like to prove to my parents that I'm good enough or whatever your trauma is. And we all take our traumas different. Like some apply it to business, some apply it to sports, some apply it to here. But like, I don't think if you don't have that, like, if you've never been in the shit kicked out of you by your dad, like you ain't scared, dude. Like, I don't know. Like if I feel like I would go into a fight and I'm like, I grew up with an older brother who's way bigger than me. Like my dad beat the shit out of me. I was like, dude, this dude's not gonna fucking hurt me. Like,
my brother used to fuck me up.
Yeah. I was like, what's gonna happen?
Well, also, I had no other options. So, like, I had to succeed at fighting because I had fucking dropped out of college, no money from my parents. I'm barely paying the bills. I didn't have any job skills, so I was like, I have to make this work.
Well, let's get back to that. Like when you grew up, where like about your grow up, like, or your
Yeah, no, I grew up. Well, luckily, I had loving parents, which a lot of people don't have that either. But like, my dad got like ran over by a truck when I was a kid, got his head smashed. He was like in a hospital bed for a couple years. So there was a few years he's pretty much absentee, and then my mom was busy taking care of him. So for a while, I was kind of running with my brother, mostly take care of me. He did mostly never fully recovered, but recovered some. So to have him back in my life, and like I said, I'm very fortunate. I had loving parents, but he had no money. He was never able to work again, unfortunately, after that. Well, actually, until he started managing me, which he did a great job managing me, maybe a shitload of money. And I think it was also great for him because every man wants to work. I don't think he was happy not working. It was like made him depressed. But when he was able to start managing me, he was happy, making me money. It was like, oh, he can do work again. He was helping out guys like Nick Diaz making money. So I think that was great. Snapped him out of kind of the not being able to work. And because again, he couldn't do like long hours, but he could get on and do some phone calls.
I'm sure that was huge for you and was a driver too, because not just providing him with money's a byproduct. Yeah, you provided him with something to progress his life with.
Exactly, because he's helping his son out. Because everyone needs to be doing something. Like I said, I had a great dad, but I think I'm sure he wasn't happy not being able to provide. No man wants that. Yeah, but it was a situation where he legitimately couldn't. You know.
And that's like before you moved to California, you got hurt, or
in California? But I was pretty young. I was like still pretty little, and there was. I mean, luckily he was recovered. He was able to walk and get around and stuff. But I mean, there was a few years couldn't get out of bed, and then obviously my mom busy taking care of him, so it gets. So these are probably things you stick with a little head. You're like, oh fuck, my brother's taking care of me now, so we're running wild, and then
doing whatever you want. Yeah, I know. And well, because you were living like what, Angel Camp, right, or
Mountain Ranch, out in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah,
my brother's a complete lunatic, so he was taking me out like, well, let's go steal some cars. I'm like 8, 9, burglarize houses, stealing guns, and my mom's like all naive because my brother was like. You know, the firstborn, they always sucker the mom.
Yeah.
My dad knew, but he was too fucked up because he'd been gangs and shit when he was younger and shit. But he's like, the kid's got guns and shit. My mom's like, no way would they be doing that.
Really? And how old was he, though?
He's like 3 or 4 years younger than me. But then once my dad started getting a little healthier, he came and beat my ass a couple times, which I 100% needed. Yeah. Like I'm not, saying a lot of kids don't need to be beat, but I did because I was running with.
I think most kids do.
Yeah,
I mean,
well, a lot of my friends ended up in jail or killed. Yeah. My dad knew that, so he would come and fucking punch me and shit.
The thing is, I mean, you guys both grew up with brothers. I grew up with 3 sisters. I wore a tampon just to fit in.
Yeah, now it makes sense.
Yeah. That makes sense.
But on that point, I mean, what are those things? I mean, growing up rough and tumble. I mean, Ramsey, it's so top of mind for me because of what Strickland keeps saying right after he wins. He's like, "Thanks, Dad, for beating the shit out of me." And then you even reshared that, and you were like, "Yeah, I mean, this is you." You even said, "I mean, what key things in your life do you think drove you that you had to do it? I mean, other than there's no other options. I mean, you could have been tried to be an athlete anywhere." Ramsey says you're actually not very athletic, but I mean, what sparked fighting? What was it?
I think, I grew up kind of fighting a lot. The town we were in, kind of near Stockton, that time period, everyone just fought for no reason. And it was kind of tough. Like I said, you have no money. Maybe you get a little, not like bitter, but it sucks when you don't have any fucking money. I go to college, I had still no money, barely trying to figure out how to eat. You don't got much clothes. You're kind of like pissed off. Yeah. And then I met Chuck Liddell, and he invited me into, I think actually someone else invited me in. Chuck was just like, oh, fuck this guy. So I wanted to spar Chuck. I was just a young punk. I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna fuck this dude up with Kimpo. I knew he wrestled, but I'm like, oh, I'm gonna get him down.
Yeah, take him down.
He has these Kimpo things. Yeah. I'm like, this guy's so cheesy. Yeah. I was thinking when I saw Chuck. So I got in there and I'm like, I'm gonna fuck him up. I came at him like throwing bombs, and then he goes, I think first he kicked me in the body, and I was like, oh, and then he came and punched me in the liver, and I go, oh, like this, thinking he was gonna back off. And his defense, he didn't knock me out of the headshot, but he comes over, gives me a triple liver shot. Bam, bam, bam. I just dropped, just like laid out. Just so much pain. Liver shots are the most painful thing people don't know.
I've been dropped by the liver by Court McGee. Yeah, Court actually one time dropped me.
I'm just looking up and like, fuck this guy, and he stands there and he goes, don't fucking ever show you're hurt. That stuck with me the rest of my career, though. I never.
Court said the same thing to me. Yeah, literally. I was
that's
like,
probably where he got it. Chuck probably knocked him out with liver shot, and he probably did the same thing to you.
Work through it.
I was just
show
like,
you're hurt.
I couldn't believe like Chuck did that. I'm just like, because he was like way bigger than me. So I think I was going a little hard, but before we sparred, he's like, oh, don't worry, I'm not going to knock you out. Yeah.
With a headshot.
I got a little insulted when he told me he wasn't going to knock me out. Yeah, I think that's when a headshot. Yeah, he didn't knock me out with a headshot.
Yeah,
but he knocked me the fuck out with
nice guy. Yeah. Well, I'm not going to give you permanent damage.
Well, I think he said when he wasn't going to knock me out, kind of pissed me off. So I started going hard on him.
Yeah. He was like,
well, you knock me out. That's insulting.
Yeah, that's.
And then after that, I just literally just started following Chuck everywhere. I think he hated me for like the first month because I wouldn't leave him alone. But then I kind of grew on him. I would just show up and be like, "What are we doing?" He wasn't my coach, but I would just like follow him and copy his workouts. But then I remember one day he texted me and he's just like, "Oh, I'm going up to Big Bear tomorrow. Train with Tito. The guys just bought Zuffa." And that's when I'm like, oh, Chuck, don't hate me. Sweet.
Yeah,
jump in the car with him. Like, I must have grown on him.
It's like in The Incredibles, that cartoon where the little kid's like, He's like, "What are you waiting for, kid?" He's like, "Something amazing to happen."
Yeah.
Oh, dude, I just pestered Chuck for a couple months. He had to, just hated me. But
That's what I kind of did to you.
But
I
that's
just follow Jake around. You know, I was like,
that's
I'd
what
be
you
like, hey,
gotta
where
do,
are you
man.
training today? And then you'd be like, oh, I'm doing jiu-jitsu here. I just text you in the morning, like,
Dude, that's
what
what
are
the
we doing
smart
today?
guys
Yeah.
do. If there's because sometimes you have someone that's really good, especially Chuck wasn't a trainer, he was just training. You started pestering him, but then eventually he just started to be like, all right, come follow me around. Because
but I'm
after
sure
a while he saw I was serious. I think that's when he started helping me. The first week he's just like, you're an idiot.
Yeah.
I'm
After
sure
I
in the
kept
interim
coming-
though is like you were also putting in work too, right? The guy
Oh, yeah.
high level doesn't want to help a guy who
I was
just
working my
says,
ass off.
"Hey, tell me what to do," but doesn't do it,
And
right?
that's when Chuck started, like, I think the first couple weeks kind of ignoring me, but once he saw I kept coming, and then once he invited me to, like, a week-long camp, like the Zuffa, they had just bought it. I'm like, all right, he must like me. He invited me to camp to go train with all these dudes. And I was, like, young, dude, fighting all these, like, training with all these pro, big-time UFC fighters. I had a great wrestling base that helped quite a bit, especially the sport. People were good, but it was, what was that, like 99?
It was still like developing,
It hadn't
you know?
Around 2005, the people got really, really good.
Yeah.
Around 2004 or 5, it really jumped. But 2000, it was still, by like 2008, 9, people were there. By back then, they're about as good as they are now, I think. It might be maybe a tiny bit better, but
it's always going to progress.
it's always
though.
progressing, but it really slowed.
Well, I think
after-
like now it's even better, like because there's no more specialists. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like no one's like, hey, I'm good at grappling. You have to be good at everything.
But the progression time from like 93 to like 2004 was
It's like the
insane.
invention of the internet.
Yeah.
It just
'cause-
explodes.
well, 'cause-
Yeah.
'cause no one mixed martial arts. Everyone saw it, and they all started training everything.
Yeah.
Well, but they still come up with new like when they just recently, the last couple of years, learned about the nerve kick behind the calf that
they
turns
weren't-
the leg off.
They weren't
Yeah.
doing that when I was fighting.
Yeah,
I never
that's
had
a
to worry
newer
about
thing.
So I never had to worry about calf kicks. Crazy.
When you guys watch, so me as a casual fan, when I'm watching, jiu-jitsu is like when they're on the ground too long. I mean, you'll be in the arena, you're hearing, woo, woo, trying
He
to
starts yelling. He's the guy
Yeah.
that that's gay. Stand him up.
give him the old dick twist.
Give him the old dick twist.
But I mean, when you guys are watching it, is there any amount of okay, this is boring, or are you watching like, oh damn, it's
I mean,
crazy what he's
that
doing?
really depends. There are times where they're just sitting there doing nothing and it's boring, but there's other times there's highly technical stuff going on and I love it and the fan's not. So it goes both.
And I was like, when I was fighting, I was always a fan favorite because I had explosive fights and I would be grappling too. Like a lot of them,
Yeah.
I just nonstop grapple and attack. And like I'd be in rounds where Joe would be like, oh, that's so exciting to watch that
Yeah.
5 minutes of hard. I mean, your Damian and Maya was
Yeah.
25
Great
minutes
fight,
of
yeah.
grappling, and it's one of the most funnest fights to watch. You know what I mean?
I also think the U.S. fan base has gotten a lot more educated. Still,
Yeah.
they still prefer stand up, but they do understand the ground.
Stand 'em
They
up.
didn't understand it at all. You'd be like mounted or rear naked. Now I've seen a couple stands up, someone's mounted, they stand them up, and the whole crowd boos like crazy. Like they know you're not
yeah,
supposed to
big deal.
stand someone up in a mount.
But when you were fighting in Japan, though, right?
And they're super educated.
Because you fought there, right?
But they're like 5 times.
And they're all like really into
Yeah.
grappling, and they're
it's
like,
like it's like quiet, but they do big applauses after either a striking change or grappling exchange.
Yeah.
did you ever fight in the Superdome with like 100,000
No,
people?
unfortunately not.
Dude, that'd be kind of wild, right?
But first time Japan, I'd never left the country, never been on a plane. Flew me out there, bought like I think it's like 30,000 people.
Yeah.
Right. I was completely unknown in the
Oh,
U.S.
shit.
They brought me out there 2 weeks notice.
You weren't
to fight.
fighting in Pride though, huh? Or-
No, I never fought in Pride because the time period, the lighter weights were in Shudo and Pancrase. So I fought in those
Pancrase,
shows.
yep.
The Pride brought in my weight classes later.
Then they got bought.
So it was all the same fighters that ended up going to Pride I was fighting. So yeah, the first fight out there was Hazushi Sakurai, who's ranked number 2 in the world. They brought me out 2 weeks notice as the guy I like to lose, and I went and upset him and won. That was a crazy experience.
And then they love you, though. That's what's
Oh, yeah.
cool, right? About the Japanese fans. They
Oh,
don't
yeah.
get bitter. Like, if you do that, they're like,
Yeah.
dude, this guy is our new guy, and then we're going to
Star,
bring
yeah.
him out.
No, I was like a pretty big star in Japan.
Yeah.
Anytime you fight a Japanese guy though, they still want you to lose.
Yeah, but then,
Fought
like,
Japanese guys after that, and they definitely favor the Japanese. But
Yeah.
if you fight a non-Japanese, then they'll like you.
that's true, yeah. But when did you fight Japanese out there?
About one, yeah.
Non-Japanese.
Sorry about my
persons.
racist friend.
Yeah, sorry. Sorry. I just
Wait,
thought it
you're
was
you're
so
brown.
racist.
You're brown. You can
Yeah,
be
it's
racist.
okay. I can say whatever I want. I'm
Osama.
brown. Yeah, Osama bin Laden. I can say whatever I need, dude. Yeah. White boy over here is turn to talk.
Yeah, I fought at least one Japanese over there. Oh, something interesting. This was the UFC. I fought Sexy Yama.
Oh, in Japan, right?
Okay, so here's the story with him. He's from Korea,
Watch that.
but he changed his name to a Japanese name and he lives in Japan. They booed him and cheered me.
Oh, really?
But
he's
he's
like they know
cheated
he's
soccer.
Korean.
Yes, well they know he's Korean, but it might be to do with like because he greased his gi at the Olympics. So I don't know if it's because they hate Koreans more than Americans.
Yeah.
Or
I've
if
heard
it's-
they hate each other
Well,
more
all
than
Asian countries hate each other.
Yeah,
Yeah.
It's funny. I've been to Asia a lot. It's funny.
They all
the,
hate it,
all the
huh?
Asian on Asian racism is hilarious.
Yeah,
or I
it's
find it
hilarious.
hilarious at least.
Yeah.
So when you're over there, though,
Everyone's like that though.
there's so many. Why do they go from? Is there just no money over there? Why would they go from there to over here? Because we're over here, you got kind of fair weather fans, whereas over in Japan, like when basketball players go over there, they go crazy.
Well, a couple reasons. One, there's more sponsorship dollars, and it sucks to be famous in Japan. No one knows who you are in the U.S. That's kind of like, I'm a star in Japan, guys. Sure.
Yeah.
So that
Yeah.
sucks.
It's like
But-
making it in Montana.
yeah.
Make it in New York or L.A.
Yeah, which sucks. Oh, I'm famous in another country.
Yeah.
But the
But if you're getting paid though,
no, that though I love fighting over there. The biggest one is the show's pride died out. They had
Too much scandal, too much
They
yakuza,
had a
Yeah.
Yakuza
fixing fights.
scandal, and Japanese culture is very like by the books. They were like told to stop watching it, and they did. In U.S., we'd be like, yeah, fuck you, we're to keep watching it.
Yeah.
But, so it killed it. They still have some shows over there like Risen, but it's just not like it was.
yeah, Risen is pretty trying to come back, and it's all the same Pride people.
Yeah.
It's like
Because really, before it was Pride and UFC, and they were considered even. It wasn't.
And
some
Juan
people-
Archuleta's
some
the
people
champ, who's an
considered Pride
American.
better, so it wasn't like every other shows. Everyone's always like, oh, UFC's a little better, but it wasn't considered that with Pride.
One is out of Asia,
Right.
isn't it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
One
fighting
out of Singapore-
championship.
that's
One's
Singapore.
actually considered the number one organization in the world right now.
One's
They get-
massive.
Yeah, they get the most views out of anyone
Yeah, because they're massive in
because
Asia.
they're in the Asian country.
And is it because they're also they don't let you weight cut, huh?
It's complicated. They're trying to cut the weight cutting
Yeah.
out, but people still cheat it. And
How?
I don't know if I should give away this.
Okay, never mind.
Yeah.
That's fine. So when I'm
But
watching,
there's
Even though
ways
I'm
to
not
do
in
it.
one, but I've heard people tell me stuff, but I don't know if I should publicly be.
yeah, no, you're
Yeah, like there's
people
ways
do
to
it.
like get around. Like they had the same thing in college wrestling.
Yeah.
And what I would do is like you'd have your thing, you have to cut more weight, chug some water.
Guys hold their pee, I think, or something.
Yeah, you hold your pee for as long as you can and you just keep drinking water like a little bit and then you keep cutting the weight and you'd be like, fuck. And then you get in there and then you'd go and you have to like pee out like the first
The
little
hydrated
bit,
water, yeah.
the unhydrated pee, and then you start to do like, so it was a whole process of like how to, but I mean, it's better than nothing.
Yeah,
I think it's better
yeah,
than the
they're-
UFC.
they're trying to
Guys
take it
cut less
pretty
weight
shitty.
there.
Yeah.
Guys cut about 8 to 10 pounds there. They cut like 20.
I mean, weight cutting is the worst thing in the.
What was your worst
I
weight
feel
cut?
like I might like die. I feel like I could have died a couple times weight cutting.
Mm-hmm.
When
Me, I've never had to weight cut. I've only seen like the video of Cyborg, the girl Cyborg, like screaming, crying in the bathtub. I mean, what does a weight cut feel like? And when does it start?
Dude,
How
you
does it
feel
go?
like you can die. You're literally pushing yourself close to death. I remember when my first fight at the UFC, Martin Campman, because I had a couple fights at 85, so I'd gotten pretty big.
I remember that fight. We were there
I kind
with
of
Court.
misjudged the timing. I had like last day, I think like 21 pounds to drop, and I was like, but some
21
people can
pounds
drop
is
more money too,
unbelievable.
like depending on more weight, depending on how much muscle they have. Also, some of the cuts in Japan are really difficult because I was dropping down to 167, not 170, and
3 pounds is a canyon.
and
Yeah.
they won't let white people use their saunas.
Yeah.
They won't.
It's because I have tattoos.
They really won't.
It's because Yakuza has tattoos, but I'm clearly not Yakuza. But
But
just go by the books.
that makes sense. So
So they
like,
won't let me use saunas there, and the Japanese, they're trying to get me to lose. They won't bring me to a gym, so I had to cut the weight in my room.
oh, shit.
So that
In like a tub or
yeah,
something.
me and Gil had him. He was going 43s, I think. We had a
So do
we
you
had
need a partner there? Like, dude, you got this. Dude, you got.
a
or
weight cut? Yes, you do.
Yeah, you really
You
Otherwise-
do.
have to have a partner.
You
for
just
that weight.
because you can't even be
And
in your
even
mind at
safe.
that point.
You can't cut that weight because sometimes you try to quit, and that's why you have your friend like, nope, you're going back. And I've gotten almost fights with friends, so like locking me in a freaking
Yeah, I mean,
sauna. Let me out.
you and Tarek one time and the UFC were holding me in the hot tub, and I'm like, I'm not gonna make it. And you guys were holding me in there, and then I was in the sauna, and they were just holding the door, and I was like, let me out. And then you guys were like, and then you started to feel bad. They're like, I feel bad.
For a second.
Yeah, and then you're like, fuck you. You're getting paid to do it.
Well, the thing is, what I've seen, just watching the Ultimate Fighter and all that stuff, is like that seems like the biggest sin a fighter can do is not make weight.
It's looked upon.
It's like
I've always made
everybody
weight
come
and
together
it's
and
really bad.
agreed that we're gonna make it.
You have to make
like
weight.
Dana's got no amount of
Not
sympathy.
Like it, no.
Yeah, I mean, but like,
Even if
dude,
it's half pound, they get pissed. Luckily, I've
like,
never
what about
missed
that
weight,
Wonder Boy thing though? Like when Wonder Boy missed the 3 pounds.
Or Wonder Boy made it right, wasn't
Wonder
it?
Oh no, I
It
mean
was-
when Pierre missed.
Para.
Michelle missed it by 3 pounds. Like he should have fought. You know what I
Should have
mean?
fought, but I agree. I agree. He should have fought, but isn't he contracted? Didn't he do his obligation? So I feel like he should have got paid still. I don't think he should. I also agree he should have fought, but his obligations were to make weight and fight at 170. The guy's not at 170.
Yeah, he got offered another fight though. You know,
but I think that's worse than fighting.
They should have to offer you like an extra 25% or something.
Well, they did. I think he was gonna get 30% of Michelle's purse, and Michelle was making like 6 figures. So I'm like, dude, you're gonna make an extra 20, 30 grand to give up 3 pounds?
After 4 or 5 pounds, you can say no. Maybe.
I don't know, man. Tricky. Like, dude, it's kind of tricky because, like, at the end of the day, it's a fight. You know what I mean? Like,
I would never turn down a fight personally.
Me too. I would never.
I could understand why these guys do because they're getting an advantage.
Does 3 pounds make a big difference?
It's not.
It depends, though. Like the Michelle one.
The guy also would have to hydrate themselves a lot more, so they might have come in because the hydration from that day can leave you feeling like shit the next day.
Yeah. And Michelle, I think it was worse off him being like 3 pounds because he was like so sucked up compared to if he made weight. He'd been like, okay, I made weight, but he was still trying and his body shut off. And I was like, at that point, I would be like, yeah, this is an easier fight.
He's also busted, so who cares?
So, so I didn't realize that guy had already pushed it to limits.
Oh, dude, he was being carried to the sauna.
Like sometimes guys stop early.
Hamzat, when he was supposed to fight Nate,
he stopped early.
So 8 pounds is insane.
Because he knew he was like Dana's golden boy, so he thought he was to give him a pass, but he didn't. He's like, oh, Dana will give me a pass.
Yeah, he thought 8 pounds.
8 pounds is ridiculous. It shows he didn't try sucking himself up, though.
Yeah, he didn't even try.
Because that's the thing. If he'd have sucked himself down to 170, a good chance he would have gassed against Nate.
Yeah.
So instead, he's like, oh, I'm not going to suck myself to weakness. I'm going to come in there feeling strong.
Who do you have winning, Hazmat and Costa? How do you see that fight playing?
It's a very competitive, good fight.
Where are they fighting at? 185?
Yeah. Obviously, being friends with Paulo, definitely going for Paulo.
I mean, minus your friends. Let's say you got like 10 G's and you got to make a bet.
What's the odds?
Straight.
I think
straight odds.
Hamzat is fast, but Paul is so strong.
I think he can outweather the storm. Hamzat just comes out so crazy.
I know the Hamzat Gilbert Burns kind of showed his weakness in his conditioning, and I think Paulo Costa, he's conditioned always. Like he doesn't really get tired.
I think it's a very even.
I mean, he does get tired. Actually, I will say.
I don't think I would bet money on it. I think it's kind of a toss.
I mean, if you had to, if I had a gun to your head.
Hamzat,
oh, he had to do it.
Paulo, he's my boy.
Yeah. But the money's going to Hamzat. My heart, I get it, dude. I'm the same way. Like, you know, that's the hardest thing about these picks.
When you know people.
Yeah, you know people.
Not that I'm not close with Paulo, but I like him.
Well, like even with me with the main events, like okay, Islam versus Oliveira. You know, like me and Ali are boys. So I always want to pick Islam. You know, but I'm like, dude, I think Oliveira is coming with a different.
The thing is, I always think, for me, I'd think power is going to be better than speed. But you think that speed's going to beat power or what?
A lot of power, too. I honestly think it's very close. I think like 60-40, I have it.
It's a close fight. It's a toss-up. It's like whoever can.
I want to say I think Paul's going to beat him because he's my friend, but fucking this Hamzat guy's good.
Hamzat's crazy.
And he's going to be bigger than when he fought Burns.
And it's hard for Jake to admit it because him and Hamzat have been into it. Yeah, they don't like each other.
I'm good at staying unbiased, though. Even when I don't like someone, I can stay unbiased.
Yeah.
I don't like the guy. I think he's really talented.
He's really good. And then what about Islam Oliveira? Who do you have winning the main event?
I have to go with Islam again after how bad he smoked Oliveira the first time. I don't think it'll be that quick, but
Islam
he completely humiliated him the first time.
Come up under Khabib too. I mean that's insane.
I just think he's gonna be able to wrestle him at any point. You know what I mean?
He's beat him so bad the first time that like I was not expecting that.
I think Oliveira's gonna come back better. I think he was just kind of like he was in a weird.
He has to because he can't do worse.
You can't.
I'm a big fan of Oliveira.
Me too,
so I was extremely disappointed in that fight. I'm like,
and then that one dude that's fighting that redhead Maganov middleweight dude, the red bearded Dagestani, you know what I'm talking about? He's gonna be nasty too. You're gonna have to watch him. Yeah, he's on the main card. He's that redhead or the red bearded one.
It's such a different UFC than the one that you lived in for sure. Even you're kind of removed from it. It's such a. How did you guys feel when like the Chael Sonnens came in and started talking shit? There was a lot of like, hey, that's supposed to be respect, or did you see how it was changing the sport?
I thought it was hilarious, especially Chael Sonnens.
I loved it.
I thought it was fucking hilarious. Same with Connor. Connor's
people
hilarious.
are always like, Jiu-Jitsu was built on respect and this. The Gracies built Jiu-Jitsu by Jitsu storming gyms. They sent out the Gracie Challenge. They'll fight anyone, anytime, like anywhere. When I first started Jiu-Jitsu, we used to have people come in Gracie Challenge. I would have to like fight random people off the street.
Yeah.
It was like they were storming gyms, saying we'll beat up any martial art. So it's like I love the Gracies. I'm not knocking them, but it wasn't like this bow down like the Japanese culture. because originally, Jiu-Jitsu comes from Japan, and the Gracies are the ones that switched up the style a little bit to Gracie Jiu-Jitsu.
So when you saw it coming, so the Chael, you feel like Chael was the first one. Then Bisping did a lot of it.
I mean,
there's always been
Connor changed everything.
Yeah, there's always been some.
Yeah, Tito Ortiz was the first.
Chael was probably the best at it, in my opinion.
Yeah,
Tito's probably one of the dumbest to ever do it, though. He's
rough. I mean, he's a nice guy, but he's rough.
Sometimes I don't understand why the fans like some of these guys.
When you watch the compilations of Tito, it's insane, especially when he was going against like Chael.
Yeah,
Chael just picks him apart.
It's pretty rough.
Not the bright.
And then Connor did a great job.
Now it's kind of like maybe
don't stay away from. Which brings me to our political, what made Jake, you grew up on a commune farm, right? Kind of. Muscle man is hippie dude.
A little hippie-ish, yeah.
A little hippie-ish. I will say the most liberal friend I ever had in my life was you. And you, like, going and partying with Jake.
Vegan.
Yeah, vegan. Drives a Tesla. Like, likes to party with, like, just all walks of life of people. So when I see these tweets on, like, trans shit, like, where did that come from?
I try to look the world and see what's happening, and then also I watch like the decay of like San Francisco. These cities completely fall apart with liberal policies.
Yeah,
and I don't consider myself right wing still. I'm like not like I guess I lean that direction.
Yeah,
the Democrats are so insane, so I'll vote Republican. But I'm not.
Well, I mean, you left San Francisco because it's so bad.
I watched them destroy my city.
And you're from California.
And a lot of things in the left and right switch. Like the left's a huge major pro-war party. It was Bush. He's the one that was like. Yeah. That's why so many Muslims voted Democrat, because I don't blame you guys, because Bush was like vilified it. He convinced for what years that so many Americans that Muslims were the enemy. I'm sure you felt some of that.
Like, I mean, post 9/11, dude.
Legit racism post 9/11. A lot of that was.
So with you, I mean, because it really is. I mean, we live in Utah, which is a red state. We're not exposed to a lot of it. I mean, live in San Francisco, you really are. But
Salt Lake, I mean, we're exposed.
Salt Lake, there's a lot of it.
But compared to like California, bro, this is like not bad.
Not bad.
But for you, starting to take that training and express yourself, because you're not really subject to a job or
I'm hard to fire and cancel.
Yeah, hard to cancel.
Have you had people try to cancel and fire you or get you fired?
I've had people like send like tweets to that guy Derek Moneyberg that I work with, and he just fucking laughs at it.
So with doing that though, because it is such a silent minority that attacks, right? I mean, a vocal minority, pardon me.
Yeah,
and it feels like the whole world's going across, and then you go over what most people consider flyover states, which is everything that's not California and New York, right? Yeah. How's it affected you and your family? How do you have to mentally prepare for that kind of backlash? Because then you realize that, and not to answer too much for you there, but then you realize that it's actually just a couple of people screaming loud when most people are like, oh, yeah, I get it.
Yeah, you get emails and stuff. Yeah, my only concern is my family. I don't give a fuck myself. Fuck these people. But I have a daughter, girl. I've had people like try to put posters and pictures of my daughter and shit, and therefore it's like, fuck these people. Those are the ones that piss me off. If I bring family in it, just pieces of shit. But for me, I don't care what they can do. Like I said, I realize they are a small minority. Even when I'm back in San Francisco and New York, you actually talk to people one-on-one about this. These people don't want tranny. They don't want. People are constantly telling me how they don't like with kids, how they hate the shit they're teaching their kids. They're teaching all this non-binary gender shit at their schools. They're bitching about it, but they won't speak out against it. They're too scared to get called right-wing. They've done such a good job.
Well, a lot of people. I mean, you're like me and you are in a different position, and Kyle, we can almost say whatever we want, and we're not going to be fired from our own companies.
Yeah,
you know
what I
mean?
Fire you. For
you can't fire you for you. Yeah, but like. I know a lot of people that are scared to say something because they're like, I don't want to get fired.
And I do know people that have been fired from good jobs too.
Yeah. So and they have a good job, a family. You're like, well, what am I going to do? I'm either going to have to say something controversial, but then it's like, well, what point? Like, where? Like, I always like wonder, like, what's the point? Like, everyone always refers to Nazi Germany. Like, what was the point when you realized things were too far? Or like, communist Russia. Like, all of a sudden, all these people are being killed, and you're like. Oh shit! It's too late to speak. Yeah, it's too late to speak up.
No, I just think the more.
Do you feel like we're like hitting that point where it's like everyone needs to start speaking up?
I think so. I try to encourage people, and I get it. It's hard if you have a job, you might get fired, and a family to feed. So I can't be like, oh, you're a coward. But the more people that speak up, the less they're going to be able to fire people.
Yeah,
I think more people are speaking up. When I first started speaking on the trans issue, I noticed like people wouldn't even like my tweets, like no girls. They were too scared to get seen liking the tweets. Now, like hell of people are speaking against the trans thing.
Yeah.
They're like,
I think that's such a good point for you to make, is that I don't hate a person because they're trans. I hate a person for trying to teach that thing to
kids. Yeah.
It's like
Children.
I don't go into school and teach kids about my sexuality.
No.
People are like,
Yeah.
what the hell are you doing? You're a grown man doing that. You know what I mean?
Exactly. Kids don't need to know what kind of shit I do in the bedroom. No one does. And
Yeah, I mean, Jake on the weekends is banging 4 trans. That's between him and that's between him.
But I don't share that.
Yeah.
Ramsey, I told you that was a secret.
Oh, my bad. Sorry. That was a secret one, but that's
Ramsey took me to this place called the Folsom Street Fair.
yeah, Full Street Fair,
No, but that,
Hotel Monaco.
That's such a. I mean, I love that point. Going back to it though, going to like the gym last night, right? There's a lot of very different kinds of people.
Yeah,
I mean, how do you feel like fighting is a great uniter, or I mean, I don't want to paint it too
Huge uniter, because we can like people from all walks of life come in there and get along perfectly fine. All religions, races. There's not very many gay people, but they'd be totally fine if they did come in.
Yeah.
The gay people train for some reason, but we wouldn't have a problem. if they did.
I know people that are like
Yeah.
bi, gay, and shit
Yeah,
that
it's like,
train,
you know,
and like
well, you get,
no
like,
one knows, but then it's like,
There's a
course
decent amount
I
of
know.
lesbian.
He's me.
yeah.
A decent amount
I
of
wasn't gonna
lesbian-
try to blow it up, Kyle. Sorry, but
Well, a lot of lesbian
wanna
girls
argue.
train, but like,
Yeah.
no one cares. Everyone's like totally, don't care if you're poor, rich. You're 100% equal on the mats. That's why there's one place where there's basically zero racism. So it's
like in the same
great
class,
to
I'll
see it.
have like literally a felon,
a cop.
judge, a cop, like literally a cop, and then the lawyer that defended him, and they all have
a
to,
Muslim and a Jew.
Yeah, Muslim. I mean, one of my purple belts is a Jew, and like everyone's always like, "Oh, how do you guys get
Ram's
along?"
like, I had to think about that one.
Yeah, I really did. I was like,
But no, it brings people together so much better. And I think if we need to find more ways in society to do that, because you realize people aren't your enemy, and you can like have reasonable talk to sit there and try to hear those people's perspectives. And that's when I really started finding most people don't believe this far shit that's getting pushed. It's a very small group, even in left-wing cities. Because I said, I live in San Francisco. Those people don't want this shit getting taught to their kids either. They don't want it in sports. It's just a small group that somehow has tremendous power.
Yeah. We're getting close here. What I would ask is if you could have done something, if you had a time machine, could have done something majorly different in your career, what would it have been?
Overall, I think everything went pretty well. I don't think I would change anything. Obviously, maybe there was a fight or two that I was slightly injured and would have pulled out of, but that's, not worth dwelling on.
I mean, that's interesting. I mean, me and Ramsey were talking the other day, and he was talking about at that fight with Tony at the Ultimate Fighter, knowing what he knows now, would have done something tremendously differently there, or whatever it was.
I mean, to be honest, what did I really say? I probably would have
pulled out, right?
I would have pulled out and faked an injury or something, because like looking at myself in reality now, like when I was 22 about to fight Tony, I was like, oh, that's not there. That's a lose situation.
A lamb to the slaughter.
Yeah, lamb. Like I wasn't
It wasn't
technically.
for like the finals of the show, though. You kind of had to do it.
Yeah, it was for the finals of the show, so I had to. But I was like looking back, I was like, I could have easily been like, oh, I pulled a groin.
But I mean, there's a
and then
bigger-
kind of gone back into the UFC, same position. Because then I would have done great against when I did do great against guys that were like, still coming up, and like we just both were like 3 or 4 fights in the UFC. You know what I mean? Because I only had 5 outside, so like my 6th fight was Tony Ferguson, and I was like, overall.
And I went in UFC like later in my career because I was making more money in Strikeforce in Japan and stuff, and it's hard taking a pay cut to go to the UFC. So it's like maybe it would be nice to go there a couple fights earlier when I was still more in my prime. But then it's hard to take a pay cut.
Yeah,
So
Strikeforce was paying good. Yeah,
people don't realize a lot of people even now from Bellator and stuff, they have to take a pay cut if they want to go to the UFC. So you're kind of
coming to the show.
Yeah, because
same with the PFL, man. If you go to the from there, the PFL is paying. Do they pay you pretty good, right?
So some of the best fighters are in PFL and Bellator because they're paying better.
And one pays really well, so now you're not getting any Asian talent coming back to the States. And all the Asian talent we see is like kind of the bottom of the rungs, especially the males, because they don't really do female fighting over there. It's not that big.
Yeah, so you have what 3 or 4 shows paying better than the UFC, other than the champs. The champs in the UFC make the most money,
and then like
you get way more fame because fame can turn into money too. So it's
like Derek Lewis is making a shit ton of money off of his like
Natural
Instagram and all of his other shit compared to probably.
So you have to weigh the pros and cons,
Yeah.
you know?
And if he was in ONE
Bet on
FC, he'd
yourself.
be like a middle rung and not famous. You know what I mean? Or
Yeah, for me, I
Bellator.
feel like I beat everyone I could except for GSP. So I'm like, okay, I got it. It's worth taking a pay cut to go to the UFC.
Yeah. And what I've found myself doing, I'm sure the people in my life are getting annoyed with it, but what I've found myself doing is making analogies with jiu-jitsu all the time, saying, you know, it's like guys having to rebuild offices. I'm like, I'll explain to them. I was like, hey, listen, I start in the guy's guard. I pass it.
You're such a fucking white belt.
Hey, you're there doing the work, looking at him like,
He's explaining. He's like, yeah, so like, you know,
like,
just like in
leaving out
jiu-jitsu,
important details,
you
but-
just squeeze their head as tight as you
hard as
fucking
you can
can,
till they
and
pass
yeah,
out.
it's like,
and then you tap it unless I get too tired and I tap.
yeah. Then when you're too tired, just go home.
Yeah.
just quit. That's what I do at jiu-jitsu.
Do you guys ever find yourself making those analogies and doing those things? all
That's
the
the
time?
only way I can
little bit,
analyze.
yeah.
Yeah, that's all I can do.
Yeah, I definitely relate stuff to fighting and jiu-jitsu.
It's the only way I can
Our whole
connect.
lives are based off fighting. So that becomes your personality. That's when I first started fighting. It's so hard because fighting becomes like your personality. Like it's like part of who you are. But
And
then
bring
I'm
it back to like
still-
the trauma-based
but then-
thing. You got to be like, I want to become so deep in this that I'm like forgetting about everything else. And like you do, like literally, what was your 20s? Train,
Fighting.
fight, yeah.
All we do is
That's
fight.
all. I mean, like every once in a while, I'll go on the weekends, go out, get drunk or
We had,
something.
we had a little fun too.
Yeah, a little fun in there too.
But it
for
was
the most-
all just train,
train,
fight.
You know, it's a real addiction too.
Yeah,
It's like,
fully commit to it. It's like
You have to
when,
be fully
when
committed.
Rogan told Shab to be done. He's like, the second you think maybe I should be done, go, because there's 70,000 guys who are giving their
Starved.
whole life.
Actually, Ramsey, I was talking about this yesterday. I physically, I still feel amazing, like I could fight. It was mentally, I kind of don't have the desire. My last fight, like I lost, I just didn't really care that much. I got hit a couple hard. I was like,
I don't want to be here.
yeah, like, but when I got dropped by Henderson, I was literally willing to die in there and kill him. So I kind of tell guys, my trainers, if you're not willing to kill someone in the cage, you're not willing to die, maybe you should think about a different career.
what would you tell like a young fighter then coming up? Like, hey, you know, all these DMs that you get, like, I'm a young fighter coming up. What should I do, Jake?
I'll sometimes give them advice. If they ask me, should I fight? I always tell them no, because if you have to ask, you shouldn't do it.
Yeah.
You should have to be absolutely obsessed. I never asked anyone if I would fight.
Yeah.
Instead, I showed up and followed Chuck around, like, Chuck, what are we doing now?
Yeah, me too. I'm like, I'm fighting today.
Yeah, you're telling the guy you're fighting. Yeah, we show up and we go, how can you help me? I'm going to be fighting.
Yeah. Oh, how do I get ready for
Yeah,
my
so how
fight?
do my
That's
fight?
number one.
So if they
It's
ask, I
interesting
say no. But the advice I give them, I tell them, you know, you got to find a good gym, good training partners, and good coach. You can't do it alone.
Well, it's interesting you use the word obsessed. I mean, I love Conor McGregor, and that's what he always says.
Such a casual, right?
I mean, he's probably the greatest fighter of all time.
No,
I'm just kidding.
honestly, like Chael Sonnen,
Yeah.
Conor McGregor, now Sean Strickland.
Yeah,
These are my
you like- you
favorites.
like-
Josh Strickland is the greatest champ of all time.
Yeah.
but it's obsession where it's all you can think about, huh?
Oh yeah, it becomes an absolute obsession.
It's not talent. It's obsession.
Absolute obsession, but it has to be long-term obsession too. Some guys, you're obsessed for a year. No, it takes years to build. You know,
1 year of obsession will get you
decent.
you know,
Then you gotta
but
just keep going.
But don't you ever think that it runs into a problem? Is like, sometimes for me, you know, I built a big company, but it means I have to fly all over the place. Sometimes I feel a prisoner of the own thing, of this incredible thing that I've created. Right? Doesn't it feel like you become a prisoner of this mentality that I've created?
Jake would always talk
Kind of,
about
we
that,
love
bro.
it, you know?
You would always say that though when you're in camp. You'd be like, "I'm a prisoner," and then we'd be like, "All right, well, we're going out. See you later." And you're like, "I'm a prisoner to my own house."
Well, and don't, like as I say, there's nothing I love more than hate. I love more than fighting. Nothing I hate more than fighting. I think most fighters can relate to that because I absolutely love the sport. I'm addicted to it, but sometimes I fucking hate it.
Yeah.
You know, if I lose, you see one of your friends train his ass off and then lose, and it's just like, it's just devastating. The highs are so high, so it's just the most addictive.
But to me though, like I feel like all other life after that is so like just boring, you know what I mean? And like if you've never experienced, like now you're an old man and you can experience that. Like when I'm 60, I'm like, man, I was in that cage
Most
fighting.
people will never feel the thrill of watching into a cage with 20,000,
People
65,000
yeah.
GSP, walking in the crowd thing, and you're walked in. There's another man, not just a regular man, one of the best men in the world, staring across you, million on TV.
He's been
And
training
you're like,
4 months
and
to
yeah, you're
beat
training, you're
you.
like, fuck, bro, I'm about to fight this guy. One of them
Yeah.
about to get fucked up.
Yeah.
There's just
Do
nothing
you
that
feel
can
like,
match that.
were you like nervous walking out, or by the time that you're there, you're like, oh, it's the go time?
It's a little bit of both.
Mm.
I'm like,
Relief.
it's more of an excitement. I'm not gonna say it's not nervous at all. it's not scared. If you're scared, that's not.
Yeah, it's not a good
It's
thing.
like an excitement.
Like you're like, I just want to get in there.
But there is
and
nerves for sure.
Oh, yeah.
But you're a little bit. It's like, fuck, bro. I'm about to fight this fucker. It's gonna be tough. You know?
Yeah.
You're looking across, you got Dan Henderson or Tyrone Woodley or GSP, and they're pacing. And you're like, fuck, bro. I'm about to fight this.
But you said the best thing I think earlier is like, I was thinking about is like they're thinking the same thing. Like
Exactly.
they're looking at you and they're like, oh, I'm about to fight Jake Shields, Ramsey. You know.
JSP, I'm like, this crowd was getting to me, and I go, you know what? George is looking at the same fucking thing, thinking,
Yeah.
oh fuck.
I gotta win in front of my home crowd.
Exactly.
You know? Yeah.
I mean, my line on that question. I read a book once, and it was talking about these two CEOs.
read a book?
Yeah. Well, listen to it actually.
Listen, okay, all right, be honest with us.
But CEO A, he was worth 20 million. CEO B was worth 100 million. And they asked him. They said they were like, "Hey, CEO A, what do you think about him having 100 million?" And he said, "Well, I've got something that he'll never have, which is enough." And the thing is, they were saying like CEO A was right, but for me, I'm more like CEO B, where I'm never going to have enough. I always want to be the small fish in the big pond. Do you feel like some of the best fighters have to be that guy? Because the second you get complacent, you're getting kicked in the head.
I always want more. I
Yeah.
want nothing but the best. And if you win a title, you want to keep winning it.
Yeah.
So I think to be a world champion, you have to be utterly obsessed, and nothing's ever enough. Never satisfied. I was never that happy after a fight. You know,
Me
maybe
either.
I knocked
Win
him
or
out,
lose,
choked him
you're
out.
like, yeah.
You're not that thrilled. You're
Yeah,
just
it's
like
done.
you're a little thrilled for like a night, and then you're just like next day being like, okay, how can I get better? What did I do wrong? I won the fight, but I shot this shot wrong.
Yeah.
I let him get to my feet. I nitpick every little detail. I'm sometimes kind of a harsh coach, I think, but I think
Me too.
But because the guy will win a fight and I'll like nitpick the shit out of him. And say,
Yeah.
like, you did so. I mean, you did good, but this was wrong. This was wrong. This is wrong.
I just had that same experience. I had a
Yeah.
dude win a fight, but hurt himself because he was going
Yeah.
crazy, and then he's gets sensitive when I nitpick him because I'm like, bro,
Yeah.
you shouldn't have done that. You know, like it's just simple. It's nothing to do with you personally.
Like-
and I think that's the advantage of coming from a college wrestling background. I've noticed, like, because my coach would tell me, this is what you need to do.
Yeah.
This is how it is. And if you're like, well, fuck you, I don't want to
Yeah.
listen to you. You're like, well, I'm going to take your scholarship and you can't play. And then nowadays, these fighters like, well, I'm going to go to another gym.
Yeah, go train with someone else.
I'm going to go train to someone, a yes man. And then they get surrounded by these yes men and they're all like,
It's like the difference between Alabama football and Arizona State.
We don't
Alabama,
watch
you'll win the
football.
championships. Arizona, you'll party all the time.
exactly. Yeah.
more
It's
strict.
literally like that. But then, like, it's also like they don't have any accountability because, like, as a coach, you should be able to say,
You got
this,
to
this,
you
this,
got
this.
to be criticized even
Yeah.
when you win. You know, like my guy Farrah just had an awesome fight, first round submit finish, but I go, good job, but then I nitpicked because he took the guy down, got him out, and the guy escaped. So it's
Yeah.
like, well, this is why the guy.
What if he
fucked
got-
up,
yeah,
but this
he
guy
escaped and knocked you
him
out.
after that, but
Yeah.
like you fucked up by letting him escape. You can't just be like, oh, amazing fight. Be like, this is why you fucked up. This is
Yeah.
how you fix it.
and that's where a
But
lot
he's
of people
receptive to that.
Yeah.
You know, he's like, oh yeah, I want to.
and that's why he's undefeated, though, right?
Exactly.
And he's one of the best in the world.
Yeah, exactly.
But then, like, you've probably worked with other, and like, I've actually starting to, if I tell someone something and I see him like, well, I do this, I'm just like, okay, fuck you.
up.
Yeah, I'm never gonna talk to you again about anything. Or, well, what if I did this? And you're like, what the fuck are you doing here?
Yeah, right.
Why are you paying
You
me?
already know me,
And
yeah.
that's one thing I say, like with Kyle, why you have gotten better, because you come in and you're like, well, what do I do here? What do I do here? You're not like coming in like, well, I beat up John in the 3rd grade with this overhand right, so I know what I'm doing. You
I
know?
tapped out a blue belt last week.
Yeah, exactly.
I did drop Ramsey the other day.
Yeah.
I believe it.
Okay, well, Jake, honestly, man, it's been an honor. We got a lot of respect for you. Thanks for being our first guest on Coaching the Casual.
Awesome, man.
Thanks.
Appreciate it, man. That was
Guys, hell yeah.
fun, dude.
Oh, yeah. Thanks for tuning into the Coach and the Casual. Make sure to subscribe on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify, and share it with your friends. Thanks again.